Hello and welcome to the Skies of Harmony podcast, weekly podcast. On this channel we talk classic Who, new Who, and finally we got something. Conrad, do you like trailers? Do you like trailers, Conrad?
I mean, yeah, I
Because
do.
guess
like
what,
trailers,
we got
Nick.
no trailers for you. That's no. But Conrad, do you like posters?
Occasionally.
We don't have that for you either. But what we do have is two stills. I was gonna say incredible, but I don't think I can stretch that far. For one of them. One's really good, and I like that one. I like the one with the doctor in it. I think that was a good still if you're giving anything. But yeah, just to fill people in. So if you don't know, obviously the Doctor Who Comic-Con panel happened. I just watched it. And it was nice. It was good. It's nice to see him talking about it and talking about the last series. They did a recap video, which was very interesting, actually, in terms of what they said in it. Because Chris Chibnall was, talking about, obviously, the Timeless Child revelations and so on. And he said something along the lines of, it was like, we've looked into what the Doctor's past is, or at least what she thinks it now is, or something. He kind of led it up like there's more to it than what's been revealed so far. And that was interesting to me. It was the way he specifically worded it. I was like, okay, so there's definitely more to it. Like the other actors, weren't really saying, they were kind of just going along with what they know. But for someone who's obviously the brainchild, that gave birth to this brainchild, it was really interesting to hear him say, so it wasn't like, yes, this is exactly it. It's like we've gone into the Doctor's past and mythology, and he's looking at the Doctor doesn't completely understand everything about her past yet. And it was like, or the Doctor doesn't know about her complete story of her past yet. Or it was, I can't remember exactly what you said, but if you watch it, the little recap which they uploaded separately of Series 12, it's really interesting to see exactly what he said. So yeah, that was interesting to hear, and obviously I think it's too big a story to not carry on. I think there has to be more. Like, we've only seen half of whatever this, because I guess it's now, where did the Doctor come from? I guess, not that I really want to know that, but in some ways I feel like you kind of have to if you're going to go that far. But for for a series which is always about like the kind of the unknown about Doctor Who, it's going a bit too much into the exactly who this person is.
Yeah, they're explaining everything to even the most minuscule detail at this point.
And it's it kind of ruins. That's what I love in the Eccleston and Tennant eras. I was growing up, but didn't really know much about Doctor Who. I liked the mystery behind him. I liked and having the Time Lords also be gone there made him even more mysterious. So yeah, but anyway, so it talks about characters and stuff, and it was a nice panel. It wasn't too bad. And yeah, so as we mentioned, there were two stills which we got, so no promo or anything. So I guess we could talk about. They released the little plot synopsis for the special, so that's interesting as well. So I guess I'll read the synopsis just in case you haven't heard it. Anyone who's listening. So the Doctor is locked away in a high security alien prison, isolated, alone, with no hope of escape. Far away on Earth, her best friends, Yaz, Ryan, and Graham, have to pick up their lives without her. But it's not easy. Old habits die hard, especially when they discover a disturbing plan forming. A plan which involves a Dalek. How can you fight a Dalek without the Doctor? Pretty interesting concept. It sounds like they're going for a bit of a Doctor Light episode, which I think is definitely what's needed. For these companion characters. And now kind of from that I can kind of guess that there's going to be this one Dalek on Earth, and then they're gonna cause the Daleks to fight each other, because that's the only way you can kind of defeat a Dalek is with Daleks. That's my guess. That's my guess. Yeah, fight fire with fire, and that's my guess of how the companions are going to deal with it. So I think I've kind of guessed that from the synopsis. Like, how do you do it without the doctor? Well, fire with fire, you know. But I do like, you know, that the doctor's trapped in the still, while they're trying to make it look like she's adding enough, you know, line to how many days she's been there. I actually think at that point she's knocking and she's listening to someone who's on the other side of the wall. So it'll be interesting on who she's communicating with, because she's definitely listening, because she's, you know, head up to the wall and it's like she's knocking. So obviously it's not just a prison just for her. So it'll be interesting who else is there. Maybe it's Jack on the other side of the wall.
Or maybe it is just a prison just for her.
I mean,
another her.
Yeah, it's every single incarnation.
In the next room.
Wouldn't that be actually? Wouldn't that be pretty cool if I actually imprisoned every single version of the Doctor? That would actually be a really fucking cool thing.
That would be cool.
That would be sick. Every single Doctor's stuck in a room. Because if they can get in the TARDIS, they could. Man, if that's what they do, my hat would be tipped to them. I'd be like, that's fucking awesome. That's such a great idea.
I'm not expecting it, but
wouldn't that be? That would be such a good anniversary thing as well. Like every single Doctor has been locked. Because you could also tease. You could
plot of the 5 Doctors in a way.
Yeah,
kind of.
But wouldn't that be cool? Like, and they're all in their own cells, having to work a way out. Like that would be a really nice. Like, it would be a smaller idea, but I feel like that would be a really good anniversary. Because you could tease future Doctor incarnations as well. Like, you can't hear them, but they can only communicate through, like, knocking or something. Like, that would actually be a great idea. Man, if they don't do that would be cool. I'm I'll write that.
Royalties, please, BBC.
But yeah, exactly. I'm gonna copyright that. But so the first still, I'm like, cool. That's a cool still. The second one, you could take it from any freaking episode. You could take it from like Resolution of the Daleks. It's just like 3 of them sat at the table, and it made more sense in the panel because Mandip Gill was giving, you know, more information, like, you know, it's tough that they're back in their lives, they didn't get a goodbye, and, you know, Yaz is really struggling, which with this photo, along with what she was saying, it made a lot of sense. But like when you're just releasing it on social media for the people who haven't watched the panel, it's very it's odd, you know. It's like why? You know, it's just them sat around a table. It's like for a story about the Daleks, not even like the edge of a Dalek in a shot, you know. But Bradley Walsh said something like it's like from a long time ago. Like it's I think it's going to be some classic kind of reference in here somewhere. So that sounds very cool. And maybe that's why it's, you know, Daleks v Daleks. It's a one type versus another type. So that would be cool. So it sounds interesting. I like the idea of a Dr. Lightish story, or at least they're, you know, apart. And with it being, you know, hopefully an hour, maybe a little longer, that'd be cool. That'd be sweet.
It's just sort of a reverse future of the June in a way.
Yeah.
The Doctor's been sent away on some other plot line where the companions have to deal with everything.
But I'm intrigued. I'm excited for it. I think it's like the stills aren't great. The first still's good. The companion one's just a bit like, okay. Like you could have done a teaser trailer with those 2 shots, just those 2 shots. And then a third one with like a Dalek, and that would have been enough. But they did release a thing on social media saying 23rd of November, trailers coming or something. So anniversary.
I mean, they haven't still specified when exactly it's going to be released on. They just say festive special. I noticed as well, which means they're not like necessarily 100% that it's going to be New Year's. They just said festive.
Yeah, and I'm feeling that it's because BBC's like, well, shit. We're not going to have as much new stuff to put on Christmas Day because a lot
gave enough Morecambe and Wise material to put on.
Yeah, it's like Morecambe and Wise, and they're like, we've used everything. Like the bookcase is empty. There's like no more. It's like hit the panic button. We've run out of Morecambe and Wise. What the fuck do we do? Shit. Okay, can we film some more? Oh man.
Put on Dad's Army special.
But
that still leaves several hours of that empty content.
It would be a solid thing to put on this Christmas, especially as you know, people aren't even sure whether they're going to be able to see their families or not. So people are more likely to be watching the TV. So this is the perfect time to get a new, you know, get people who haven't watched it for a while. Daleks Christmas, boom. That's fucking butts in seats. But I mean, I'm not surprised that we didn't get a trailer at the Comic-Con. It makes sense that they're saving it for that anniversary day, and it is just like it's like a month before. I feel that's enough time. Like for like a one-off special. If it was a series, I would have been like, you need to show something now. But for a one-off special, you know, and it sounds like they're not even. Yeah. So they actually did talk. This takes us to the next topic of prepping. So for the new series, they haven't started filming yet, but they're hoping to start filming before the close of 2020. That's all we know so far. So they actually haven't started filming yet. Or maybe they have a tiny bit, but you know, a couple of costume fittings and so on. They probably are doing that at this stage, for sure. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if it affects how the series plays out, you know, because hopefully the series will come out post like lockdowns and everything's, you know, there's been a vaccine found. It'll be interesting to watch it and be like, wow, yeah, that really was made during COVID. Like everyone's like standing really far apart in the TARDIS.
Can't wait for the COVID episode.
Oh god. Well, thing is, Parallaxis basically was before even COVID happened. It basically was. It was like, you know, the plastic thing which spread really easily, and you know, it was killing people, and they had to stop it. And it was like pollution, and you know, it was kind of, you know, it kind of was. It was before its time.
Thought ahead.
Yeah. So, I think they would have pulled that episode if it was airing just as COVID was kicking off. I think they would have pulled it. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a thing that they would have been like, oh, this is a bit too touchy at the moment. Maybe saved it for another time. I like the following series if Bradley Walsh and Tonson Cole are still there, which is onto our next topic, which Bradley Walsh said during this panel. Listen, this is going to be an unbelievable series, an unbelievable year of titanic proportions. And it's interesting that, you know, he says that because obviously the rumor was he was going to leave with Tonson Cole after this special.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't necessarily make that. Like, if they were going, they wouldn't necessarily say that.
Exactly.
Especially
and that's
trying to keep it a surprise.
And that's the thing. It's like Bradley Walsh went.
It'd just be a deflection.
Yeah, I think, that's what I'm thinking. And it was like, he even did like a wink at the end of it. I was like, who's that to? Is that to. And like Jodie did like a smile. Like he kind of smile. I'm thinking is like, yeah, maybe she knows that he's leaving and that's why she's smiling, because it's like, this is bullshit, ha ha ha. Or like, you know, I mean, I'd love Bradley to say, I think, you know, it's great, but it seemed like, Mandip Giller's definitely staying, because when they mentioned like, oh, so you're hoping to film soon, she like started nodding, which like to me makes it like, that's just the body language of. And it was like before the question had even finished, and it's like, I don't know, the way that she was like body language and was acting, it seemed to me like she definitely is coming back for the next series.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just up in the air whether Bradley Walsh and Tonson Cole do. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. Maybe they get so used to living a normal life again by the end of this Dalek one that they're like, we're gonna stay. And maybe Mandip Gill's like, I'm not ready to, you know, go back to a normal life yet, and that's why she goes off. Yeah, it's I'd kind of, you know, it would work. I think it would make sense as characters. I think Tonson had a lot more of like a, you know, he had his friends back home who needed him and stuff, and if Graham needs him, and it would make sense. You know, it makes sense if they'd left together. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for the new series. While this isn't like my favorite era, I'm still feeling love for the show and everything. I'm not, you know, I have my critiques of it, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm still liking, you know, I'm getting excited for stuff. I'm liking the ideas, whether they are executed to their full potential, you know, exactly how
I mean, I can't say I always like the ideas, but
A large majority. I mean, Ascension of the Cybermen was sick. I love that. You know, I love the
Yeah,
Cybermen.
I
They actually
agree.
felt like a threat, and that was sick. The Mary Shelley episode was good. I felt they just could have been. I
Yeah,
think
well,
that was held back
yeah, again,
by its actually budget. Again, I feel like, you know, the house and them just
I mean,
walking.
that one was.
Yeah, I feel like the
Definitely.
concept was there, and I really like that concept.
Yeah, the Ascension of Cybermen was really good, but the issue was is that they kind of then ducked out of a epic Cyberman finale to focus on the Timeless Child plot line,
Yeah.
which kind of destroyed that plot line. Whereas that was the more interesting part. Well, I wouldn't necessarily more interesting part, but I mean,
It was set up very, very
I
well.
think that would have made for a better story, really, if they just.
It deserved its
kept
own.
it on
They
the
both
Cybermen.
deserve their own story, so they both deserve their
Yeah,
own
exactly.
first half.
They had such a wonderful Cyberman setup, which they never really fulfilled on, and it just became a master story, which
it was a bit of a shame, wasn't it?
It's disappointing to me when the Cybermen are probably still my favorite Doctor Who monster. Well, monster. I guess you'd call them monsters still. Yeah. So it was disappointing in that regard. In general,
it's a shame, but we got what we got, and I'm glad at least we got one solid part. I do need to watch it again. I do kind of want to watch that series again. Actually, I did enjoy series 12 a lot more than series 11, which is
easily
definitely the stronger ones. And I think, well, you know, maybe just Chibnall will just get better over time. It's possible, you know, learning from mistakes. That's how things work. Who knows? I'm interested to see. I'm just going to look up how long it took them to make the series, because if they're starting to film now, I'm trying to work out when the next series will kind of come out. So, series 12 started filming in November 17. The second series had begun production November, so it came out the following year. So Jesus Christ, we're not going to get this till like early 2022.
Probably not.
Yikes.
Or if we're incredibly lucky, maybe they'll fast track it to the end of 21. But
yeah,
doubt it.
Maybe they'll maybe they'll split the series a bit.
Could do that.
Just do the film the first episodes first, so that and then they, you know, during those weeks they have time to work on. I mean, like, Parting of Ways wasn't even finished by the time Rose was coming on air. And Bad Wolf was still like, they were still being used. And I feel at the minute they're still, because you got to think, like, 1 week, 13 weeks later, that's a lot of time. That's, you know, you can edit a shit ton in that amount of time. I know it was probably like VFX, you know, like the Daleks in Parting of Ways being added in. That was probably the very last stuff added. But even like the regeneration scene they filmed that way later, because Chris decided it wasn't going to come back once the second series got a thumbs up. So I guess, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, with 10 episodes, it's a whole lot less as well, you know. Who knows? I guess it depends how quick BBC try and fast track it to get it out.
I mean, yeah, it has been a consistent issue with the whole Tubal era. It's just not only the fact that we have less episodes, but then they seem to take longer to come out.
It's very odd, isn't it? I'm not exactly sure, and it's not that the BBC don't want more episodes, because I read something that, you know, they actually prefer if they made more episodes, but they're like, no, and I don't know why. And I don't think, you know, it's clearly 50 minutes isn't exactly needed, like, for Doctor Who episodes. I don't think that's required. There's so many great episodes with 45 minutes, so they can't turn around and be like, oh, well, you know, it's just not quite working at 45 minutes. We need the 50, because, not gonna lie, I don't see, so far I haven't seen those extra 5 minutes be utilized to the most.
No.
Maybe Rosa slightly, and the Tesla one. I feel like that one worked well, but even then, again, been watching episodes, I've been like, Jesus, this is, you know, rushed endings. Like, Witchfinders or Witchfinders? Yeah. That one still felt like it had a bit of a weird pacing, especially at the beginning. You could definitely see that they filmed some stuff which was cut from the beginning because it just started with them kind of there in the village and was very like, oh, whoa, whoa. Like there was like no introduction. They were just kind of there.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Yeah, who knows why they're only making 10? I think it's only if you're there. I don't think it's any budget issue. I don't know. I guess it depends. There's a lot of moving parts.
Shouldn't be. I mean, they initially said it was because of the CG, and because they also changed production companies. I think from internal one to an external one. I think, if I remember right. And like the company which they got to do it, has done some impressive stuff. So I think they were the people who did the VFX on Blade Runner 2049, and those look fantastic. It's just that it hasn't really come across in the actual series itself. Like, I don't think there's anything that's really, in terms of CG, that's been happened in the last 2 series that look particularly any better than they did during the Moffat era.
Yeah, I don't think anything's been worthwhile enough. I think is.
And in fact, we've pointed out some particularly bad instances of CG, such as Orphan 55, where
maybe that was a different production house.
I think they only used one, as far as I know. But
they gave it to the intern.
I guess.
Add a load of dregs in. Just do it. Same animation.
People in the shed. It's like part of this big production company. It's just 2 people in the shed in the back.
Yeah, it's like we hire these guys. They just just giving them something to do. But I mean,
it's just disappointing.
I wouldn't sacrifice if I was a maker. I wouldn't sacrifice budget on CG for the amount of episodes. Because I think, you just have to be smart with your storytelling and not need all these big CG things. Or just use model work. Mike Tucker is a sick, model maker. Like, the stuff looks great. Models always look great.
I don't really believe that's the whole reason, despite what they said. I simply can't believe that that's the whole reason why they cut it to 10 episodes. There's got to be other stuff to it. But
it'll be interesting to see when the next showrunner takes over, whenever that will be. Probably not for another 5 years, but when the next takes over, what will happen to the series? It'll be interesting if it stays at 10 or if they're like, no, let's go to 12. It was weird when it went from 13 to 12. I always thought that was an odd choice. I guess they counted the Christmas special just in that run instead.
Well, I guess that was about. I mean, I think that was partially about like where the budget went, and I mean that, to a certain extent, made a bit of sense. I mean, cutting it down like 12 episodes isn't bad, but
oh no,
like when you spread it to 10, and like I said, the results haven't really shown a significant improvement. You just wonder where the money went, really.
Yeah, I mean the cameras look great. It looks good. It looks nice. The cameras are solid. It does look lovely.
Yeah.
But I just it's the interesting. I feel like you're minus 2 episodes. That's 2 episodes of character development and character moments, and all these important things which you can't. CG and 5 extra minutes per episode isn't going to replace any of that, and that's you can't say if we. Because I tell you what, if David Tennant's run was on TV now, exactly as it was, it would be just as popular, I think, because it's the characters and is that what love? Yeah, the CG would be slightly better, but I think if you still, same everything, and just obviously the cameras, you got to match the time that it was being made to the technology there is now, the cameras would be better and so on, and but it's the characters that people love Doctor Who for.
And I would point that out is that Doctor Who, especially how it was back in the Russell T and Moffat eras, kind of occupied a very different space in the BBC, which of course is filled with mostly kind of more serious dramas or like historical and stuff like that. A lot of more, I guess. Yeah, a lot. I wouldn't necessarily more. Within a certain range, like it's more of a serious. I mean, Doctor Who. The point I was trying to make, sorry, is that Doctor Who kind of occupied a unique space within that. I can't speak.
That was like,
how do I use words, Nick?
That was the longest way around to just say Doctor Who was more unique.
But yeah, Doctor Who is kept a unique kind of place within that whole kind of BBC ecosystem by kind of being a bit more lighthearted, like not necessarily being for kids, but like having that kind of family audience in mind.
It was a sci-fi family show,
I mean, of course, not there isn't comedies on the BBC, of course there is, but like it's Doctor Who kind of finds that balance somewhere in between the two of them, especially during that era. So it kind of was a family show to bring the whole family together, because like there was elements in there that could appeal to everyone, and whereas you can't say that for most of the BBC's programming, that will either go very much one end or one very much the other end. Particularly during the Chibnall era, though, I think the whole show has been kind of slanted very much towards the adult side of it. Like, not that kids can't necessarily watch it,
I
but
would disagree.
I think it has kind of moved away from the family.
I would disagree and say it's gone the other way.
Really?
Yeah, I would. I think like the character, while they try and make it deeper, like with the cancer, like Graham's cancer and everything, they never really actually dive into that. They've had like moments where they're trying to act like, look, this is the grown-up part of the show, but they never, it's like when the Doctor was socially awkward. Like the Doctor always has something to say, and it's like, that should have happened at the start of the episode, and then it should have been addressed at the end, where the Doctor was like, "Sorry, I acted that way. I just don't know how to act around." It was a mistread that. But I feel it's gone the other way. I feel like there's no arguments anymore. There's no real ever battle for control. You look at Donna Noble, and there was always arguments. They were shouting at each other. We had like maybe 2 cases of that now. They definitely got better in series 12 of having sometimes a bit of friction between. But there has to be friction. You can't always have every character agree, because then where's the drama? There's no drama then in this show. And it's just science fiction, and like it becomes too fictiony, doesn't it? It's not real if people are always agreeing and being okay with each other, And Doctor Who was way more mature back in 2005. Even the Moffat era had like I'd say the Moffat era went more away from the kid side of it in some ways. Like you look at the series 6 plot lines that had like pregnancy, and Moffat's obsessed with sex. And like that. I feel like now I'm not feeling any of that. They're and I know that some people can relate to these characters. I've seen on Twitter people are relating to Yaz and Tonson and Graham. I get that, but personally I just can't. It's like they've kind of, it's like, like when you're writing a list of a character and you're writing, okay, what attributes do we want? I feel like they've like listed, okay, well he's he's dyspraxic, and he's not fully confident, and I feel like they've kind of gone, okay, these are your characteristics, but they've never really, and those people who share those characteristics, they can connect more to this character because they know what it feels like. So they're like, okay, this guy is dyspraxia. Oh, well, I have dyspraxia. Oh, and it's nice that the representation is there.
I mean, as someone who has dyspraxia, I don't really necessarily agree with that inherently. Although I guess he's kind of more, severely, bit more affected by it than necessarily I would be, for example.
I guess, but it's it's like they're great characters if you have experienced what they've experienced, but there's a lack of a window of view into their world. I think at the minute that I'm not feeling like I understand what it feels like to be these characters. They have their characteristics, labeled across their forehead, but apart from reading them and hearing them say I'm dyspraxic, I've never really felt like, apart from in like the first episode where he's climbing the ladder and he was finding that tough. That's the best that they've done it. But then in Kablam, he's running on conveyor belts. So I'm like, thought you were
Yeah.
dyspraxic, man.
Bit
Like
of
you would
inconsistency.
freak out if you can't run in a straight line and you're on a fast conveyor belt and there's lasers everywhere. Like it's
Sure.
like the lack of that kind of consistency and
Yeah. I mean, when I said it was less family, I didn't mean so much in terms of characters. I was thinking more tonally, and the kind of the actual contents of the episode is less, I guess, inviting, I guess, to a family than the David Tennant era. So, well, yes, I agree. The family drama was more layered back then, and same with a lot of the characters. I just mean, yeah, just in terms of kind of you watch an episode and like rather than the ups and downs, I guess, in terms of it's kind of difficult to describe, but I just feel like you twitch on to a new episode and it's less like there was a certain energy, I guess, the Russell T era that doesn't and also to the Moffat era, which just doesn't
oh yeah,
quite.
it doesn't feel as fast paced anymore. You think you think it's less energetic? You feel it's more mellow?
Yeah, there is that definitely.
I think the
I mean,
music
they
is
certainly slowed down everything,
I
and
think
and yeah, the music
I
too.
think the music is a huge part of that. I think, it's less in your face. It was brassy and it was, violins, and you listen to the Murray Gold soundtracks compared to the, the current series. I've forgotten his name. Aka, I can't pronounce it either. But the current composer, sorry. And there's just it's like I can listen to those Murray Gold tracks and they're absolute bangers. I don't even need the episode, and it's like the Doctor Forever, all the strange creatures. That one is an absolute masterclass for composing. And it's like there's none of that really blaring music anymore, and I love that in Doctor Who where the soundtrack just took over.
Yeah, the current composer has a strong kind of history in documentaries and docudramas, which very much is kind of what we've been getting in the new series. It's kind of music that's tonally more in line with something like that, which when Doctor Who is very much not really ever, because like even since like you look back to some of the classic series stuff, even like it was a lot more, there's a lot more to the music, a lot more of a pace to it, a lot more, whereas and we talked about this before actually as we've been watching episodes, it very much, the current soundtrack does a good job of just, I guess, ambience and atmospheric pieces that kind of set a mood, but don't necessarily really stick with you particularly.
I couldn't hum one piece of music from the current, like the two soundtracks. I couldn't hum one. Like, I find
except
that kind of
the remix title theme. But, I
it's
mean, that's just
from,
because it's a new title theme.
And it's kind it's a shame because I love the music and I can't. I liked that Doctor Who was a bit, campy and bombastic with its soundtrack before. I liked that. I liked how serious it took itself. It made you feel like, oh shit, this is a real threat. Like the Future Kind in the Utopia episode, their whole theme is like, it's basically like metal. You look at the characters and it's like, listen to that track and it's like, it's like a hard rock Murray Gold kind of thing. And it made them, but if you didn't have that kind of track, you just had something kind of a bit more generic, it's just, it wouldn't, like, I wouldn't take them as seriously. And maybe that's the issue. The aliens, we can't take the threat seriously because there's no accompanying music. It was funny, I was watching The Shining the other day. And have you seen The Shining?
I haven't actually.
Okay, so at one point, Wendy, who's the wife of in the thing, she goes into the room where Jack, who's played by Jack Nicholson, has been writing like his screenplay. That's why he took the job in this hotel, because it's going to be abandoned. And she finds transcript, and it's like piled that high, and all it says on every single line is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy or something, a dull person or something, and like she's just like ripping them, looking at page after page of just this written over and over and over. Massive props to whoever had to do that, because there's no printers back then, and it was a typewriter, so I'm pretty sure someone must have typed every single fucking line of that for I don't know how many pages. So big props to whoever did that. Maybe they printed it, maybe, but there was so like variants, and there was like misspellings and stuff, something that you couldn't just do by accident. But anyway, and she's just, and it's like she's just putting the pages back for like 20 seconds or something. It's quite a while, and the music was what was driving that moment. And I was thinking, like, if you watch this on mute, this would not have any like that much effect. It would be kind of creepy. But with the music, it was like blaring. Like the music was the main thing. That was what you could hear most of, and you could kind of hear the paper and her breathing, and that was it. And it's like, if there was no prominent music in this moment, I'd just be kind of finding this funny. But it's because of the music is, scratchy, and you don't want to hear it. It's like, okay, so I don't want to see this. And it's stuff like that, Why are they running? We need quick running music, something dramatic. And yeah, I think Doctor Who just has to have bombastic music. I don't think...
Yeah. There was a few videos I saw on YouTube of like various like film bits of films where they rescored it in like different, with different film scores or different styles and whatnot. And it totally does like really change the mood of what you're watching and kind of what you're supposed to be getting out of it. So like a scene that might have been quite happy originally, you put like a tense score over it, and suddenly like the characters seem far more sinister, for example. Or it really does do a significant job in kind of making that mood prominent. I wonder if there is actually an edit where somebody like scored Mummy Gold's music over a Jodie Whittaker scene.
It would be interesting.
I wonder if that has a thing.
Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll try it. It'd be interesting. Like Ascension of the Cybermen, do something like that.
That'd be cool.
Or yeah,
with like the series 2 Cybermen themes and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, actually, part of my module this term, I'm doing mixing music into stuff, and I'm gonna put some music from one. I was thinking of doing Jewel of the Fates into the battle from Narnia, because it actually times up pretty perfectly. Just like when things come in, it's kind of paced the same-ish. So I thought I'd try that, because I think it'll be quite fun to do. But yeah, I could definitely try at the same time, just quickly do a Doctor Who scene, because I feel like, it needs that bombastic, and I find it an odd choice that they went that direction with the music. Maybe Chibnall didn't like the bombastic, but I think everyone else did. I think, guess we'll see. I mean, until the writer just score changes, like the music's gonna stay the same. So I wonder how long it's gonna stay on for. Maybe when a new head writer comes in, then they'll be like, right, we want change, and work with someone else. But yeah, I find it odd that someone who didn't do drama before is now doing drama.
Like if you're moving away from the more orchestral themes, I would have been okay with that. But like make something still that kind of fits, Doctor Who, I guess, a bit better. Like even if I went back to like kind of the old, like more techno-y style of like old Doctor Who, where it's like a lot more synths and such. I mean, that would have been interesting to hear what that would have been like in the modern era.
Or it's like, imagine, like, the 10th Doctor's regeneration without Valet de Chem, or Doomsday without Doomsday, the track Doomsday. Like, they just wouldn't have hit the same. Like, it's the music which really drives the emotion in both of those.
I mean, I'm actually trying to picture in my head just that Final Day with Tennant theme with like the theme from when the Fourth Doctor regenerates. And that still kind of works, actually.
For the Fourth Doctor, but what I'm saying is if modern, like...
But that's what I meant, sorry, having that kind of play over that, as
But...
in that theme.
Oh, what, the Fourth Doctor
it hits differently. Yeah, you know that whole, like, during the Logopolis, like you have that whole, like, sympathy kind of melancholy theme over the top, especially when it's like the theme with kind of the Watcher. I mean, that kind of
Oh, that would work.
I mean,
no,
what
I'm saying is current.
well, but
what I'm saying is current series. If like if what was being composed now was composed for those moments, it was just.
Oh yeah, no,
it wouldn't fit, would it? Like you need. I think that's the issue. It's like it's lost its oomph, I guess, on TV screens. If you flicked it on, if you flicked over to a Doctor Who episode, you'd be blasted with the music.
Yeah.
And he made generic tracks which could be used throughout the episodes, which was nice. All the strange creatures was used so many times during series 3. And I think,
like I said, the show had a certain energy, which I think came down to the music. It came down to the way it was edited. And yeah, it came down to how kind of punchy a lot of the dialogue was, all of which I feel like has been lost. In the current era.
Yeah, I'd agree. The punchiness is gone. Maybe that's it. I guess too long on conversations, and I guess they're trying to do characterization, but I think, it can be done with a look. It's the classic, thing.
You can have slow scenes. We had slow scenes during, Russell T and Moffat era. It's just that shouldn't what takes up a majority of the runtime.
I think a big
show is primarily known for its monsters and rather than necessarily deep character studies. Although they're not even really doing that. So
that's the thing. It's like we're not even getting that. I think the main thing is it just needs that oomph back. I want that music return, and I want that fast. I agree, and I don't think we've ever touched on it before, but I think it's that punchiness. It's the show don't tell. I mean, I think that's the biggest kind of thing with the recent 2 series is too much talking, not enough. And that's the thing.
Which is why I going back, I guess, to the initial point a little bit. Sorry for interrupting it, but like. I was just saying and mentioning it like how it looked to a family audience, but like I think about how I watched like during the Russell T and Moffat era, and like you were kind of engaged by how like kind of like I said, we said that kind of oomph to it, whereas you go to the modern era and like I don't see how a child would be quite as invested in watching it compared to what we had. I mean, honestly, I don't know, but seeing as I'm not a child, but
do you know something I think they really missed when they did Spyfall, which was obviously supposed to be a complete James Bond kind of rip-off, is they didn't start the episode with the end of another mission. Like they should have done that. Like it's like perfect opportunity to end like a story where they're fighting one monster and then lead on to the next.
It would have been cool.
Because that would have been cool, wouldn't it? Like that would have been actual proper James Bond kind of rip-off. Wouldn't that be interesting if they did a series like that where, they're in the middle of, you start the episode with action and it's like enough a story and then it leads on to the next one. Like,
I mean, we've had episodes like that, which have done sort of that thing.
I just think it'd be interesting if you did a whole series where it just like, every time you drop, because it's like, and then you only see the end of it. And I just feel like then it's like, it's perfect for Big Finish to drop in stuff there, to actually tell that story or books or the novels or whatever, It's just, I feel, I guess we'll see. But at the moment, I think with this current team, it's going to pretty much stay as is. But I do hope eventually we get that oomph back in the music for sure. I want a soundtrack again. I want to boogie down to some Doctor Who music. But yeah, I guess
atmospheric rave.
I guess that pretty much covers everything. Then there wasn't much TimeLord Victorious related. The book released, haven't got it yet, but guess we'll see. Maybe I'll get it. Who knows? Busy.
The panel isn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, they also announced a 4th Doctor story in the TimeLord Victorious saga.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the TimeLord Victorious DVD Blu-ray We can mention that quickly.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
the weird
that was a
box
thing.
set with like all the stories which have just the slightest connection to the Dark Times and so on. It's like a mix of there's the Third Doctor story, Seventh Doctor, Fourth Doctor, and 10th Doctor's in there, I think. What else is in there?
Mm.
I know State of Decay is in there.
Which absolutely makes sense given
The vampires. Yeah.
Ninth Doctor story. Yeah.
The artwork is beautiful.
Genesis, of course, makes very much sense.
Okay, so we got Planet of the Daleks, Genesis of the Daleks, The Deadly Assassin, State of Decay, The Curse of Fenric, The Runaway Bride, and The Waters of Mars. Huh. I guess that's only because the TimeLord Victorious thing.
Wait, where does the Runaway Bride fit in there, actually?
The Rachnos were part of War.
Oh, I guess because of Rachnos. Yeah, okay, yeah. I just caught that. It's great. Oh, yeah.
But I love the artwork.
Forget about that.
It's so cool seeing them all, like, you know, on the cover. Crazy. Young fanboy me would have lost my shit seeing that cover.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah,
it would have been worth getting if we didn't already have all the stories.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a Mars, man? They were on my Wednesday this week. The Flood. Very spooky day. Good for Halloween. I thought they should have saved these guys for Halloween. I'd argue the scariest monster in Doctor Who ever. I think like they're just so undefeatable, you know? More monsters like this, please. Can't be like Weeping Angels. Nah, these guys. I think I'd argue they're the scariest.
I think they're right up there. I'd need to think about if they actually, but maybe.
They still scare me. That or Midnight, but it's like so hard for Midnight to.
Well, you don't even know the monster, but that is what.
That's what's even scary about it. But those two stories, Midnight and Waters of Mars, definitely probably in my top 5. Maybe, I don't know. Like, it's so fucking good. Both of those, I could watch those again and again. Never get bored of those ones. Too good. But there we go. So yeah, that comes out at some point. That DVD, I'm not sure when. The Road to the Dark Times. Very interesting choice, but they've done it. They have done it. But there we go. So, thank you very much for listening. What did you think of the stills that we got? Are you annoyed we didn't get a promo? I think quite a lot of people are, but also it's like, well, they never give us anything, so what were we expecting? But, you know, after a shit 2020 year, yeah, who was expecting anything good to come out of it?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we got the trailer. It's basically confirmed for November 23rd, so I guess, you know, wait till then. But that means we've got, like, 8 more weeks to fill of having nothing to say. Oh boy. Yeah, a Monday. Oh, that's right.
So what's your favourite Doctor's shoes?
Oh man. So I really loved the Fourth Doctor's big red boots. They were very cool. But Jesus Christ. Or the Converses were pretty cool. Well, I'm not talking about shoes. Okay. So there we go. So yeah, comment below what did you think of the stills? Are you excited for the new series? What do you think of the music? What do you think of the TimeLord Victorious DVD? Comment below, and you know, let us know. It's always nice to see what other people are thinking and feeling, and yeah, keep it groovy, people. We'll be back next week, probably, maybe, who knows. We'll see you next time, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye.